Welcome everyone. I would like to thank all our attendees, our panelists, and our special guests for joining us today. I'm Mary Pernger. I'm the recruiter here at HPM Building Supply. HPM is honored to host the grand finale of NAWIC Hawaii Chapter's Women in Construction Week for the second year in a row. For some opening remarks, I have the privilege to introduce Mary Kucharenko, who's the NAWIC Women in Construction Week Chair. That's a mouthful. And then Kayao Amarin, HPM Building Supply Home Design Center Director and past NAWIC President. Mary.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Kucharenko with Linden Logistics, and wow, what a week we had. There were so many live events. I had hard hat hair. I'm sure all of you did as well. First off, I wanted to say thank you to the WIC Week team and all of the hosts. Ipo with Aloha Marine Lines, Jessica with Rynell Woods, Mary Pigao with Hensel Phelps, and Joan helping us with Aloha Marine Lines with the social media. Danny and to the board, I just want to say thank you for letting us put all of these great events together. And I just want to put out a great thank you to all of our hosts. Habitat Build Day on Saturday was wonderful. We had 57 volunteers, 33 of which were from the military, and NAWIC directly recruited all of those volunteers. So kudos to everybody for showing up and pitching in. Thank you to Pacific American Lumber for a wonderful event on Monday, a tour of their products and warehouse. Thank you to Grace Pacific Sandbox Safari. We got to play with all those big toys. And a thank you to Kiewit Kapalama Tour and Layton Waterfront. And finally, Friday to our grand finale with HPM. Thank you to HPM. Thank you to our panelists. And a special thank you to Kay Howe for putting this all together. And you really do deserve the recognition. So thank you so much, everybody involved. And I just want to say that this is a great position to be in, and it's a great organization, NAWIC. So you should really take part and become a member and join it, share an event, get to know everybody, and it's a good way to give back. So I'm going to send it back to you, Kay Howe, and thank you to the HPM team for a great grand finale. Mahalo.
Hi, everybody. Am I on? Okay. Hi, everybody. I just want to take this quick moment to thank you guys all for participating in our second, I'd like to say annual. I don't know if we're going to do this virtually. Our hope is to do live and in person next year. But we're super excited to have all of you. Today we have 40 people that signed up to be in today's grand finale panelist. And so we're excited to have all of you. And on behalf of everybody here at HPM, thank you. I also wanted to remind everybody that we've got $700 in prizes to win today. So you need to be present to win. We're going to give it away live at the end. So we have two $50 gift cards donated by our NAWIC Week, in addition to a $100 gift card. All three of those are with Amazon. And then HPM is donating 5 $100 Foodland gift cards. So we'll be giving that away at the very end. So stick around. And my last thank you is to our panelists. These are 4 amazing ladies today that we felt their diversity, their stories was so interesting. And what a better way to round up all the things that we've done as women in construction. And so we thank you guys for being here. We thank our panelists. And we also thank everybody here at HPM, including Dana and her team, Kiana and Ashley, for all that they've done to be able to connect all of these parts today. And I wish you guys a great WIC week. Thank you.
Wow, staying on for the panelists is going to be great, but now you're throwing prizes, so this is good. Okay. Now we'd like to welcome our special guests and ask each panelist to say a few words to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Sue Lee Loy, Hawaii County District 3 Council Member.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for everyone for being here today. It really is a privilege and an honor to stand alongside so many strong women in construction. I have the privilege and honor of representing Council District 3, which consists of Keaukaha, Panaewa, Waikia House Lots, Waikia Uka, and Keao. I also have the privilege of representing a lot of our charter schools, a lot of our high schools and elementary schools, I also get to take care of the university and our Hawaii Community College. I'm also the proudest owner and recipient of the zoo. And that's one thing all the council members do not have is 2 tigers, and I get to take care of them. And it really is a privilege and honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to hear from Audrey Takamine, Vice President of Takamine Construction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today. A little bit background about myself. I'm one of the co-owners of a construction company in Hilo, Takamine Construction. We're a fairly small business, 20 employees. We specialize in mostly commercial, but we also do renovation. I have 2 kids who are active, high school and middle school. A new puppy that we got during COVID that keeps us busy. And yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Audrey. Okay, next up is Rynell Nishihara, HPM Hilo Outside Sales Representative.
Hi, everyone. This year I made 17 years here at HPM. I started off in the merchandising department. I went into retail, out at the lumberyard, into our central bidding department where we did quotes for our whole company, and then into the inside sales, and now into the outside sales department. It's been great. I mean, yeah, I hope to be here till I can retire.
Great to have you. Thank you. Okay, next up, we're going to start with the panel discussion. Throughout the panel discussion, feel free to put questions in the chat box. We will have someone monitoring it, and hopefully we can get to all of them near the end. So first up, I'm going to ask Sue, how do you successfully balance work and life while being intentional in all aspects? Mom, politician, whatever, all the hats you wear.
I think the first word that comes to mind is balance. I just wanted to take a minute or two just to describe a typical day for me. It usually starts at about midnight or about 12:30. That's when a lot of online newspapers are published. And so I will actually start to read the news at midnight or thereabouts. And just scan all of the publications to see what people are talking about, what type of news is being reported. And then I'll actually either jot down notes and I pity my team, will start sending them things to do throughout the day. Hopefully I will get back to bed about 2:30 or 3 o'clock, and then wake up like clockwork at 5:45. I get my littlest ready for school and out the door for about a 40-minute 4-mile run. Then back home for a quick shower and into the office. I'll probably skate into the office about 9. And by then, hopefully my team has started to address all the things that I brought up at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. And then just kind of dig into the day. They're out the door, my team is out the door at about 5 or 5:30, and I'll hang around the office till about 6:30, maybe 7. Home, back in time for a quick dinner with the kids, get them settled. My 2 oldest, they're well taken care of. I just have 1 little one at home. And oftentimes fall right to sleep with him at 8 or 8:30, and then I'm back up at 12:30 again. So that's why balance for me is really what keeps me grounded. I do intentionally carve out time for myself. A lot of people might say it's selfishness, but it's actually self-care. So running the disciplines of time for yourself really does help, which also grounds me enough to give to others. And that's one thing as a policymaker you find yourself challenged with, is people want your time. People want to kind of connect with you. And it is a discipline, but it's not selfishness, it is self-care. So thanks for that great question, Mary. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That is an amazing schedule. That was a great answer to hear that. I'm impressed and a little tired from hearing that, but that's great. Audrey, with COVID restrictions and recruitment staffing challenges, which I'm gonna really listen to this, so I'm a recruiter, I wanna hear about this, over the past 2 years, how have you been able to maintain a successful business on Hawaii Island?
So, luckily, we have a really good working relationship with the Hawaii Community College. And so usually every year when there's a graduating class from the carpentry program, we would contact the professor and ask him if he has any recommendations for us. And that's been actually working out really well. So actually recently we picked up 2 new hires from the carpentry program. For office staff is I think working in a construction company in the office is not your typical, I think it's mostly on the job. You learn how to do the skills. Even for accounting, I have a accounting and finance background, and I wasn't prepared to do the finances and job costing for construction until I actually got into it. You just had to learn on your own. So as far as recruitment, I say the college has been a great help for us. It's also, word of mouth. So our guys, if they know, other people that are looking for work and they know that they're a good fit, then, that's really how we do it. We're still a small company, but we have about 20 employees. So for us, finding the right person is really important, right? It's that chemistry and to make sure everybody gets along. We have small groups. And so if there's one bad apple, it kind of affects everything else.
Yeah.
That answers your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with both those, I see ties to the community. You say the school's helping you, but you're actually helping this community, like that connection with the college.
It's a great relationship.
The employee referral. So, what is it like to? Oh, Raynelle, you're next. What is it like to go out into the field and have to ask contractors for their business, or how do you? I know with sales you have to gain trust and build that. So how do you do that with the contractors?
Oh, when I first started, it's really intimidating. I'm working with men. They see a woman coming onto their job site, and so I just try to be consistent with them, and earn their trust, and just try to help them however I can with their projects, and
So when you're at HPM, what other outside sales reps are females?
I think I'm the only one.
Okay, that's great. And then when you're out in the field, are you typically the only sales rep out there, female?
Yeah. I mean, they have some workers that's female, but very little, And it kind of feel it out when I go out to the job sites and try to see what kind of people I'm dealing with, and but once I earn their trust, and they always keep coming back to me.
Great, thank you. Okay, Sue, let's talk a little bit more in depth about you were talking about seeing what's going on in the world. Are there any bills or policies that we should be following or supporting, or that are important to us to kind of pay attention to in the building industry?
For women in construction, one thing I learned with Kehau is there's a lot of equity in pay for women in construction. And so anything around wages is always really important, I think from a broader perspective, as it relates to construction and the industry, there's 2 areas. One is at the state level, which is our State Building Code Council. The State Building Code Council here vets and evaluates a lot of our construction codes, along with the state legislature. So anything you see as far as construction projects will come out by way of CIP, which is capital improvement projects. Those are good pulse checks to check as far as what the policies are and then what type of funding is coming. We all know on a bigger scale, the federal government is coming forward with the American Recovery Plan. We are looking at $63 billion coming down from the federal government, in which 1.6 is coming straight to the state, but Hawaii County itself will see about 39 million of that. So tracking funding, resources is where it's at. That's the best place to put a lot of your work and intentions. I think locally at the county level, it's definitely 2 committees. One committee that I chair, which is the Public Works Committee, we'll see a lot of our construction codes come through there, along with infrastructure projects again. And then our planning department that our planning committee, which is chaired by another strong Wahine, Ashley Kirkowitz. And that's where projects are actually given their regulatory permits, where they're able to build and go vertical. So those are definitely the three areas I think that you can keep a pulse check on. I personally have my office reach out to organizations just like this, our chambers, I keep in touch with, and we have a number of construction organizations like Hawaii Island Contractors that we tend to keep in touch with the leadership there so that they can actually provide feedback when a lot of these things are coming through. So from a very smart perspective, and we all know time is so valuable to all of us, that's the focuses that would make your time and energy worth investing in.
Thank you. So interesting to hear. That's great. I'm going to jump to Audrey now. What is it like to work so closely with your husband? It's a family-owned business. How is that? And then I'm going to throw in there if you have any words of advice for business owners.
Sure. Okay, so I would say it was challenging when we first started. We started our business in 2003, before we had kids, and so we were young, and we definitely had to work out our kinks. We had to, figure out our roles and our expectations from each other, and I think that was probably the biggest part. Was to figure out where the line is drawn. Right? Am I crossing the line? And but my husband is a very we're almost like opposites, right? So in that way, it works out really well. He's a very calm person. I'm more hyper. So I guess I should say, yeah, it took us some time to work out our differences and to figure out, get our groove and figure out who's supposed to do what. But I think we both respect each other and we both trust each other. And so I think that really went a long way, especially during the hard times. So communication. We always check in with each other just to, if it's having lunch, at least once every couple of weeks, just to check in to see, where we're at and what we need help with, and just also pick each other's, brains. So but I mean, family-owned business. I love the flexibility. I'm able to make our own hours. If I have to work at home at nighttime, I do it. And especially now with COVID, right? Everything's more remote. So we did a lot of remote in our office. Our office staff work from home. It's been challenging, and we still have our challenges. But we are both open-minded and willing to sit down and listen to each other.
It sounds like you complement each other.
We try to.
Yeah.
We definitely have butt heads in the past, but Yes.
Is there anything else you would add? What advice would you give to business owners? Because how long have you been in business? You've been several years now.
Almost 20 years.
Okay, so someone who might be coming in, a newer business owner, what advice might you give to them?
I would say it's good to be creative and think out of the box. I think in construction, there's it's competitive. So it's always looking for ways to be more efficient, ways to stay safe, of course, but be more efficient and just really, just be creative. And I think that would be my advice, is just go for it. There's a lot of, we've had different opportunities where we could be creative and it actually worked out. Sometimes it doesn't, but, and you learn from that and then you grow that way. So I say, be creative, think out of the box, and go for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great advice. Thanks. Rynell, what's the biggest obstacle you face when you go out to get contractor sales? What's it like? What have you come across obstacles?
For me, I think the biggest thing was selling myself to these people that, I can do anything anybody else can do. And, that I would be an asset to them. But other than that, I mean, the biggest obstacle is just time, finding enough time in a day to, get everything done, put out the fires, thank God it's Friday, you know? Yeah.
What about, do you have any advice for women, since we're asking advice questions, any advice for women wanting to go into contractor sales or do that type of work?
I mean, if you would like to go into it, I mean, you can do anything you want, you know, and just put your mind to it, and like she said, be creative, just, yeah, start from the bottom. I started from the bottom, you know, and 17 years later, look where I am. So I think you can do it if you want to as well.
That's great to hear. Okay, we're gonna move on to some questions that are just, I'm gonna throw it out to the panel, so if somebody wants to go first. The first question is, what challenges do you face today as a woman in a male-dominated industry?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay, thank you. I thought when I said that, I better tell somebody to go.
Because somebody's got to start,
Yeah,
right?
thank you.
I think for myself in the role that I have is just the acknowledgement that we have it tougher. Women have it tougher in a legislative role. Men tend to get a lot more graces than women. And so I think if there's any advice to offer through that is just that acknowledgement. You have it harder as a woman to do whatever work you want to do, whether it's in the policy field, whether it's in a family-owned business, or just in the industry itself. You're always looked at like you gotta work harder. But the confidence is that we all do work harder. We're all moms, we're all sisters, we're wives, and just being built that way, we already work harder. So give yourself permission to say, we can do this, right? Try acknowledging the challenge is one thing, but overcoming it with that acknowledgement. And we talked about it earlier today and throughout this week, that we gotta give ourselves permission, but we have a bunch of other women who are doing the exact same thing, and go ahead and lean in and rely on that network of women.
That's great, I love that. And do you have Audrey or Raynelle, you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I think she's
Summed it up. I'm gonna build off that too, is with what advice would you give to generations, the next generations to come? Because, yeah, women that are just coming into the workforce, or maybe a woman who's making a career change, what advice would you give to that generation?
You know, I would say as women, we're and we talked about this earlier, we're like we're naturally better at communicating and collaborating, right? As women. Multitasking,
Everything.
right, exactly,
We're
right?
just better.
Yeah, right, so, I say, yeah, like she said, just go for it, and we can do anything. And
Yeah.
it could be a little bit tougher, and, there's still gonna be that old boy kind of network, but the old boy network, they want a fresh blood. They want someone to take on, new challenges, take on their roles. So whether it's the community service or whether it's, something, they're willing to hand it over and, teach somebody who they feel like is worthy, right? And if we work hard and show that, then I think that's what we do naturally. So go for it.
Yeah. Great. Let's see, what about Raynelle? What are some of the tips you might give to getting the best performance out of your team?
Well, I'll work alongside them and show them that, I can do what they do. And so hopefully it'll encourage them to work harder and get the job done. And, just keep your mind to it and work hard.
Yeah, setting an example, being
Yeah.
there with them. Yeah.
Work alongside them.
Great. Do you guys have anything to add to that one? Getting the best out of your teams?
I would say also to treat everybody the same. Whether it's your first day on the job or if you've been with, they've been with you for many years, to treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
And treat them like they're a very important part of your team.
Yeah, and especially going back to the recruiting during these times, you want the employees that you have, you want to keep
Right.
and keep them engaged. Okay, let's see. Let's talk about how you balance. I know Sue, you talked a little bit about this, so I'm going to ask the other members here. How do you balance the work-life balance? Anything else you want to add to that?
For me, same like her, kind of routine. I like, I wake up at 4:30, get ready, get the kids' school bags ready and whatever we gotta do there, get to work. Then we got soccer in the afternoon, hula, we got, gotta go home, make dinner and homework, and then shower, 8 o'clock, back in bed, and then wake up again the next day, do it all over again. Just keep going every day.
So it sounds like there's definitely a schedule to it.
Yeah, routine, schedule.
Agree, same
That
thing.
works for me, yeah.
Agree, yeah, schedule. That's,
Yeah.
I live off my calendar. And every Sunday, me and my husband sit down together and we try to figure out, okay, what does this week look like? And to be honest, for us grandparents, that's their biggest help. They help us run our kids, for pretty much from when school finishes till like 7 o'clock at night, for the chauffeurs. So, yeah, it really takes a village, and
Yeah, I agree. As a working mom, I think that having a schedule, asking for help from family and friends, and then I also have found as I've gotten older is to give myself breaks sometimes. And I will just let something go that I can, and that really helps my mental health. I think you kind of touched on that before too. So
Self-care.
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes if I let one little thing go, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so how do you, Sue, I'll start with you. How do you stay positive and encourage yourself after a mistake? Because everyone makes mistakes, and so it's a tough one, but how do you handle that?
Sometimes whine. But for the most part, I think just acknowledging that, and I think Audrey can appreciate this, even baseball players, they're having a great day, even when they're batting only 300, right? And so acknowledging that in the larger context, it's not always gonna be perfect. We all strive for perfection. Sometimes we gotta let that go a little bit, right, Mary? But yeah, just really that acknowledgement that in the bigger context, we're all just human. I recognize with my job, I'm not gonna make everybody happy. As a policymaker, as a legislator, if there's a lot of stigma that goes with that. A lot of people depend on you. And so there's times you're not gonna make everybody happy. And then again, give yourself permission to acknowledge I'll wake up the next day. And like Raynelle said, work harder every single day. It's definitely a mind bend. But you just have to do a lot of self-coaching sometimes. And I'm blessed to have amazing kids who are my best friends. They're adults now, so I think you invest in your kids early when they're young, and they really become a great foundation and a backbone for you when you grow up.
Yeah, and I found that with leaders that women who are leaders, that doesn't mean that they just have to be able to stand up, make choices, stand behind them. I will get behind a leader if they do that, because that's what I want them. I want them to lead. That doesn't mean that everyone has to like everything every minute. And so I think that's really key for you to touch on that. What about to you for Audrey and Raynelle? If there's anything you can add about once you make a mistake, or you kind of how you stay positive and encourage yourself.
For me, I'm a perfectionist. I like to try and be perfect, but it's not a perfect world, right? So if I do make a mistake, I try to forgive myself, learn from that mistake and just move forward. Just, try something different the next time.
yeah, I agree. Own up to your mistake, acknowledge it, be accountable for it. And you might sulk a little bit.
Right. Wine.
Take that moment.
Yeah. But then, refocus and figure out, okay, how am I gonna fix this? Right. So I don't do this, how can I not make this mistake again?
Okay, Audrey, I'm gonna start with you because for some reason I've had to go last here the last few times, but how do you navigate where you are in your career? Like just the choices you're making and how often are you assessing that? Some people I know do it every year, 5 year, kind of how do you look at your career and make those decisions?
I think, probably I would say every year for sure. It usually comes around after the holidays when we have some downtime and we're, able to sit down and just like look at my life, right? And trying to see like, am I happy with my life? Am I happy where I am? And then that's also a good time for me to look at like personal goals. What goals did I set last year? Did I achieve any goals? Do I, and I sometimes, I have the same goal for like 5 years. And it's, I was like, this is not good. So then I started putting it someplace where I can see it. And a lot of motivational speakers will say that, right? You post it somewhere where you'll see it every morning. So for me, I have it in the bathroom. So every morning, I have it in the bathroom and I have, it's a short list, but it's a reminder for me, to like, this is my focus. This is how I want to start my day, and I think that's actually very beneficial. And as the years go by, you can start crossing those short-term goals off your list, and then you have long-term goals, right? So those short-term goals would seem like little baby steps turn into the next level, and so I feel like that's very effective.
I like that. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna do that when I get home,
Yeah.
to put it on my bathroom.
Really, because it reminds you see it.
Yeah, and then the checking off, that's great. Do you have anything to add?
Well, like when I first started, I didn't think I would be where I'm at today. So, same thing for her, like setting goals and just even achieving little goals every day, that'll make your self-esteem go up and just, work at something small every day and then work into a longer term goal and then see where you want to be.
It sounds like also taking a moment to see you've completed something and have that.
Right. Like if you've seen the same goal for 5 years, you're kind of like, oh,
You're stagnant, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But, once you achieve it, then it's accomplishment.
Sue, what about for you? How are you, when are you reevaluating and looking at these things?
So I have a job that I get evaluated every 2 years.
I would think that.
So that really is a good check if I'm doing all right. I think I have a hybrid system of these two women, which is what I call a post-it shotgun approach. I put a bunch of things on post-its and stick it up in my office or on my mirror at home. And as I accomplish the work ones, they come off. And so you can actually see where you're at throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. And then at home, it's really some affirmations about give yourself permission, give yourself time on that bathroom mirror. And then I think, you gotta check in with some of your real girlfriends who are going to tell you like, girl, you need to walk it back a little bit. And just being honest in those spaces. And I think the biggest self-check for me is, and something these two women touched upon is, are you happy? And if you're not showing up as your best self, it's time to reevaluate. And then if you're not making others their best self, it's time to really take a good look at where you're at. Just being real honest and raw about yourselves.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. Can any of you think of share a story where you might have been challenged at first, and then you either really learned an important lesson from it or had a great takeaway from, and it could be a challenge that you were successful in, or it could be a challenge that you didn't overcome. This might be hard. This was a question at the bottom, so I don't know if they read all of it.
For me, sometimes, so if something goes wrong in the field, like these guys, they yell and swear and just, it's just really degrading, but I try to just talk them through it, how to fix the problem and then move on from there. And one of our customers, he wasn't gonna buy trusses anymore from us, but he's on his next house and he's buying the trusses. So, just getting them back to like give them calm and just do what I can to defuse the situation. But other than that, most they see a woman, they don't yell and swear, but they think I can't do the job either, but I prove them wrong. So yeah.
It sounds like you have a quiet confidence when you're there, like when something gets escalated, you're
Right, because if I get escalated, then it's just gonna make it worse. So just try to work through it.
Audrey, Sue, do you have something you thought of that you might want to share?
And I'm gonna frame it around career.
Sure.
Oftentimes, government work is messy work, and things don't get in on time, on budget. And there's one particular project here on our island in my district that has really languished for 5 years, affecting community for the last 5 years. It's a road project, and it has been the biggest challenge. I will honestly say I still have not overcome it because it's not done yet, and it's still about a year, if not 2 years out to completion. And so I'm in it. I'm in the challenge. And so learning from this moment right here, right now is what I'm trying to take away from. But walking back to community, being a good communicator, acknowledging the shortcomings, trying to gain trust, trying to gain confidences. I'm doing it right now. Maybe I can come back in 2 years when the project is done and get asked this question again. But just acknowledging sometimes you're in the challenge right now and grabbing all of those skills that we have as women to forgive ourselves for our mistakes, wake up every day and work harder, acknowledge that you're not gonna make everybody happy, find balance and support from your family and your kids, and do it again.
I love that. Thank you for the honest answer. That's really, I appreciate that, because that's where you can really grow from an honest answer.
Mine is maybe more broad. I'm thinking like as a small business owner, when you start up your business from scratch, there's no like guidebook for you. There's no like user manual on how to run your business and how to do anything, right? So, it's I think, and that's still something like even with COVID, trying to create policies, procedures, keep all of our employees safe. I think that's still been challenging, and also luckily as a small business, we also have resources and partners that we can, get information from. But really, it's on our shoulders to figure it out. And so, it's a lot of communication and just trying to figure it out. So I would say it's still challenging, and it's trying to. I don't have an HR manager. I am the HR manager.
One of your many hats.
I don't have, so it's you have to just learn to do everything you need to do and try to navigate and figure that out.
Thank you. I would love to hear about how you each got into the industry, just kind of the beginning of your career, because everybody has different journeys to how they end up, and maybe it was the plan all along, or maybe this wasn't the plan. So if someone wants to talk a little bit about their career path and how it all started.
Sure, I can start first. So I never thought I would be in construction. My plan was I was gonna live in the mainland and I was gonna be in finance, and it wasn't meant to be that way. My husband, who he's a contractor, he wanted to start his own business, and then from that point on, I think that's when I decided to. I was just working part-time, so I was working in our office at home, and I was just working. I had a full-time job already. I was working at the credit union, HFS, Federal Credit Union over here, and I was working part-time doing his books at night, and that's how it started for us. And then as we started with 2 employees, and then as we grew, I realized, wow, I can't just do this at night. And so I made that change. So yeah, didn't think I'd be in construction, but love the flexibility and love the journey that we've had, and all the people, all the awesome people we've met along the way.
That's great. Rynell or Sue, you want to talk a little bit about your?
So my father was a professional painter, a licensed contractor, and so I was kind of around the construction business. So I started painting before I had children, Rincona, commercial condos and stuff, and then I had my first child, and after that, I didn't work for 3 years because he was born so early. He was born at 25 weeks, but once he got 3 years old, he could go to school. I started here at HPM and been here ever since. I love it, you know. I like to see people happy, helping them build their dream homes. Yeah, just been around the industry since then.
For me, it feels full circle. I was actually a college intern at the council and was lucky enough to be surrounded by good mentors at a time where politicians were statesmen. And I recognize now that they were mentoring and coaching without me even recognizing it. And that's one thing I really also want to acknowledge is a lot of leaders and mentors, they're looking to mentor people. And so don't be afraid to go up and say, hey, can I spend some time shadowing you? What can I learn through the industry? So for me, it started as a college internship at the council, spent about 8 years there, got really involved with land use, spent a lot of time doing work with land use on both the private sector side, public sector side, and then circled back around and was asked by the outgoing council member at the time saying, hey, you know, why don't you come? And I just didn't think so. But as I talked to more people, they said, no, you're ready. And I didn't think I was, but it did feel full circle for me. So from 20 to 50 was all that work and skills to landing where I am.
Thank you. We hadn't touched on that, but I agree with you on the mentoring and when I look back at my career, I definitely have had some strong females who took the time. And I always encourage people to ask for help and to ask for informational interviews. People love to talk about what they do. And so reach out and ask people. So we have some questions from the audience we're going to move on to, but I encourage you, if you haven't had a chance, please put your question in the chat box. We still have time to get some more new questions in. So this one is from the audience. According to statistics, women make less money than men. How do we ask for more money when getting promoted or hired?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I think you have to elevate skill sets that normally men don't. And don't take for cheap your time on PTA or PTO, because that kind of organization, time commitment, setting an agenda, that's a lot of value that's not on a resume. And elevate that you can be an organizer and you actually already have skill sets. I mean, when your kids are having birthday parties, you're up till 2 a.m. making cupcakes so they can take it the next day. And those types of sacrifices, there's value in that. And that's why you're worth more. You're actually worth more because women tend to care more. And you need to approach that particular organization or company that actually, like Audrey guys, they value that. They value that connection to community. And find that organization that has the same skill sets. They're gonna value that request.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's communication, you know, and I think performance, obviously, right? You know, and sometimes, you know, you have to ask for that pay raise, and yeah, I think she's right though. I think you just got to communicate and if you're already, like she said, like detail oriented, we only have 3 people in our office but setting agendas and all those kind of things, all those little things that are important, people kind of take that for granted.
And I will add, being a recruiter for years in different industries, men do not apologize as often as women do. So you should feel confident in what it is that you need with a schedule, with your pay, and just have confidence and continue to enhance your skills. There's a lot of skills sometimes you have in other areas, but to not apologize for things. Because I have found through the years, men do not do it and women do. So I'd encourage everyone to do that. I love this next question from the audience. What is the most rewarding experience that you've encountered? Rynell, do you want to start with that?
So probably like how I talked about earlier, like just seeing the homeowners happy with their, forever homes and just helping people. When I went into the central bidding department, we did quotes for our whole company, big quotes for projects and stuff like that. And I didn't work with customers, and I was like, oh, this is the ultimate job. No customers, but I wasn't happy. I like to see the customers happy, and so I went back into the sales, and I love it. With the outside sales, I get to go out to job sites and just see different projects and going on and just helping people.
Yeah, I love it. I can feel your passion, so I love that. Audrey, do you have something that you can talk about?
Very similar, I think so. It's that vision that the owner had, and now they moved into their dream home, or it's a vision that the business owner had, and now they're able to move into their new dentist, office, or I think and then being able to visit them later and see them raising their families or having a successful business. I think that's the most rewarding.
Yeah, ask me that again, Mary. What's the question again?
Absolutely. It's been so long, but what is the most rewarding experience that you've encountered? So we've been focusing on obstacles, but this is like, what do you enjoy? What's rewarding that throughout your career? What's something that you?
Oh, I have the privilege and honor of sitting and chairing our Human Services and Social Services Committee, in which we provide $2.5 million in grants to all of our nonprofits across the entire island. And for government, nonprofits tend to stand in the gap. It takes a while for government to show up, and our nonprofits, they stand ready. They organize food drops, they make stew and chili. All these community organizations, after an emergency, will go out into community. And so that truly has been the most rewarding, is providing a lot of funding to our nonprofits across the island. They see the underbelly of community, whether it's homelessness or kids, just hungry kids, drug addiction, you name it. They're touching the most vulnerable of our population, and that really has been the most rewarding work. Just a lot of gratitude for all of our nonprofits.
Thank you. Okay, we have another one from the audience, so there's still time. If you have another question, please feel free to put it in the chat box. But any tips on how to figure out strength? We were talking about this at lunch, women, how we communicate and understand. Any tips on how to figure out strengths and weaknesses in others, and the best way to encourage others to show up as their best self? And we've touched on this a little bit, but I'd love to hear from everybody on this.
I think understanding that everybody has strengths and weaknesses, right? And acknowledging that, and to I don't know how to word it, sorry. But for example, someone has their strengths, and so you would ask them to take care of something versus something that they don't feel comfortable doing. Right? And encourage them, because you know that they're able to do that very well. On the other hand, there's people that want to learn, they want to improve, they know that this could be their weakness, and so they'll ask for help. So to uplift them and trying to teach them, or get the right people to teach them, right? You're not always actually most times you're not the best person for that. So finding the right person to help that person out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does, yeah, absolutely, and acknowledging strengths and weaknesses, I love that.
I think just as women, we all have kids, and they're all very unique, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses. And so oftentimes, the carrots and sticks of life work very differently with people. So as Audrey said, definitely acknowledging their true potential, cultivating that, unleashing them in that, praising them in that, but also them encouraging them to tackle some of their weaknesses and growing in that space. One thing I like to use in our office is just the understanding that you have to know how to know. Oftentimes, you don't have a playbook when you're getting started, where your career is going, how to raise a kid. You don't know. But if you know how to know, you can get through it. And so also acknowledging that that weakness will come with growth, but as long as you encourage, hey, we're gonna do this together, I think that will also cultivate that question of, are you your best self when you're doing this? Are you making others their best self? Which was, I guess, part of that question, but for me, it is that know how to know.
Let's see, thank you. I think we had a few more questions come in from the audience. If you think about where you are now, what percentage do you attribute to hard work and how much would you attribute to luck, fate?
100%, 110% hard work. Hard work. Hard work, 100%. You get lucky.
What you put into
You
it.
do get lucky once in a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, you
Timing.
gotta put in the hard work.
I would add to that too. The hard work is doing the hard work, but not always when the opportunity is there. So when the opportunity comes, you're prepared. So, there's people who might enhance their skills so they're ready when that next, someone approaches them.
Opportunity
Yeah,
comes.
that opportunity comes. So really always taking the time to put that in. The hard work and then everything else, the timing might fall into place.
Which would be the luck and the fate.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. Was there ever a time you felt like you didn't belong in this industry because you're a woman?
All the time, good. I mean, you walk into a meeting and it's all men, it's like, but I just try to do what I do and show them that I can do anything they can do, and that, we all can do anything. Yeah. Just build each other up, and I can't change who I am, so I can only prove to them that we can do it.
Honestly, for me, it was mostly the beginning when I first started. And I think not understanding enough, and just having to learn along the way. So it might be something simple, call so-and-so and request for, or order this material, let's say, right? Something very simple, but then you call them and they're gonna ask you all these questions that you don't know how to answer.
Right.
It's just learning the job, right? Learning along the way and just being more confident in yourself.
Yeah,
Because
confident.
there's some men that are gonna talk down to you,
Oh, of course.
and they're gonna treat you like you're
Less.
you're just an office girl, you're just, but you show that I know what I'm talking about,
Right.
then they're gonna respect you.
Yeah.
And then, that relationship is, they're gonna realize, okay, you know what you're doing.
I recently took a trip to DC, and politics in DC is way different than politics here in Hawaii, where we understand diversity. And there was a number of times in DC, either if you're just a woman or a woman of color, you're already judged. And you have to armor up and walk in with some confidence, acknowledge, they might not like you or want to listen to you, but it's their loss. It's really their loss. And then find others who will. I say this all the time, there's always a way through, under, over, around, or through. So sometimes the one person in that room that you're talking to is not the only person. So find a way over, under, or around, or through, and you'll get there. You'll definitely.
Great. I think we've gone through our questions, unless there's anything else the panel would like to add. I think we've gone through a lot of topics. Any other questions that come in? Okay. So thank you so much. We loved hearing all your perspectives. It was great discussion. Now I would like to introduce Danielle Ullaman, the NAWIC president, to give us some closing remarks to end out our week celebrating women in construction.
All right, well, thank you very much. Wonderful panel, absolutely wonderful panel. Thank you so much, Sue, Audrey, and Raynelle. There was a lot to take away there. Of course, Sue, I couldn't help but just perk up immediately when you said you wake up at 12:30 and stay up till to read the paper. But I get it, it's part of the role. And then you also run a 4 miles. I mean, I think I'm athletic, but that's just like, whoa. And Audrey, we've, full disclosure, we've really gotten to know each other very well these last few years. And I've learned a lot about you and your financial pursuits, and just really enjoyed hearing about some of the challenges, and really just with the communication with family too. I mean, it really touched me there. So thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. And Rynell, I took away a lot from what you were saying as well too. The perfectionist part resonated with me. I heard you say that a few times, and I can definitely relate to that. But thank you so much. The questions were very diverse, and I thought that the answers were fantastic. So also, Kehao, thank you for putting it on. I see you right there behind Raynell, sort of. There you are, a closet. I want to just highlight Kehao just a little bit. And I realized, let me go backwards. I've been spending a lot of time talking about the past. I didn't even introduce myself properly. So I am Danny, or Danielle Ullman. I'm the current NAWIC Hawaii Chapter 114 president, and NAWIC is the National Association of Women in Construction. We're an association that has been around since the 1950s, started in Fort Worth, Texas, I believe. And, we've grown to several thousand throughout the nation. And in Hawaii, we're a little over 60 strong and growing. And yeah, we're really looking forward to continuing to hold events like this across the islands, because we are one big community in Ohana. It's not just Honolulu, right? I mean, construction is throughout the island here. So Kehao, let me get you one more time again. I see you there. Yeah, there you go. Okay, the reason why I want Kehao to stand up for a second is because, let me just make sure I'm reading this correctly. I was informed that the Hawaii County Council has given has bestowed the honor of the National Association of Women in Hawaii Construction Chapter 114 2022 Women in Construction Week. And there is an official document that was given out. Do you have that, Kehao? Can you show it? Can we walk that up here and just give a round of applause? I know how much hard work you've done. And I know I'm pretty sure Kehao mentioned this, but if not, I'll put her on the spot again. She is a past president of our, at the time was the Honolulu chapter of NAWIC. So of course, she's contributed well above and beyond to our association. But without further ado, I mean, in terms of closing remarks, I'm gonna hats off again to Mary Kucharenko, who I do see in the chat here, and her team as well, for putting on a fantastic Women in Construction Week. I see a lot of members, I see a lot of guests, and we're just really inspired. We're really excited. So thank you so much. I just want to clap for everybody here. And without further ado, I don't have much more to say. So thank you for attending today.
Thank you, Danielle. Well, now we're to the good stuff, and who's going to win some prizes? Yeah, they all stay for you.
Can we give a virtual round of applause to our amazing panelists? Yeah, absolutely incredible. And I will tell you, when I called Sue, she was actually in Washington, D.C., and she's like, yeah, absolutely, I'll clear women to be able to hear from her. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And, when it comes to Audrey, when I had a conversation with her, she had actually booked her flight going to take her family to Utah, but she changed it for all of you today. So I do want to thank her for that. And that means so much to us. And then she asked, as we were having lunch, how can I join? So I'm going to connect her to Mary and to Joan to connect and broaden our exposure here on the Big Island. And, receiving this proclamation from Sue's office, and the council, and getting a chance to actually speak on behalf of all of our members was just so awesome, was so touching, and be able to share our mission. So thank you for allowing me to do that, Mary. And then when it comes to Rynell, she's our unsung hero here at HPM. We have over 400 employees in our company, and 41% are women. And of the 41% of women here at HPM, 16% are in some type of leadership role. But I will say our unsung heroes like Rynell, who are out in the field, while they are not leading teams, they're leading the charge for others like us in the industry. So we thank her. She was nervous today. I think she did an incredible job to get her around. So of course, the best part of my job is to give away prizes. And before I do that, I do want to say thank you to Mary. Mary is our recruiter. She's probably got one of the hardest jobs out in the industry to find talent for our company. We are diverse, we are statewide, we are always looking. So if anybody out there is looking for a job, call Mary. So again, on behalf of HPM, thank you guys so much for participating in our second, I won't say annual, because our hope is that we actually have a live event next year. But we want to thank our marketing team for putting on this virtual event. We want to thank our panelists and our moderators one more time. And Mary, I'm going to let you say our closing words as our NAWIC WIC Week Chair. You did an amazing job to you and your committee. Right on.
Thank you all. Thank you all for participating. NAWIC is such a great organization, and it's because of its members and the time it takes to put us all together and the networking. It's a great group. And thanks for being leaders and mentoring me for the last 11 years, you guys. The NAWIC group, I've been a member for 11 years in different parts of NAWIC, never on the board, but I've always learned something and I've always gained a friend. And I'm just so appreciative. So take part next year. Somebody else take up WIC Week, be the chair, get to know everybody. And Kehal, thanks again. You really did deserve that recognition. And I'm so glad to call you friend. Thank you, everybody. And aloha till next year.